I never thought I'd be the person to destroy a family. But when I found the citizenship petition hidden in my husband's desk drawer, I realized they'd been trying to erase me for 2 years. My name is Elena Vance. I'm 31 years old. I live in Lincoln Park, Chicago, Illinois, in a 3-bedroom brownstone we bought in 2022 for $890,000. I'm a contract attorney specializing in international family trusts and cross-border estate planning. I bill $425 an hour. I've closed deals worth $50 million. And 6 months ago, I discovered my in-laws had been planning to legally kidnap my husband and baby back to Switzerland. This is how I stopped them. But before I tell you what I did, you need to understand something. Revenge isn't an explosion. Revenge is a slow, precise dismantling. It's removing every brick before the other side realizes the wall is falling. It took me 5 months. I used every skill I'd learned in 10 years of contract law. I documented every conversation. I saved every email. I photographed every document. By the end, I hadn't lost anything, but they lost everything. Let me take you back. November 14th, 2023. A Tuesday. I remember because it was trash day, and I was carrying our 4-month-old daughter Maya down the stairs when I heard Mark on the phone in his home office. His voice was quiet, strained, careful. He said, "Mom, I already told you. Elena won't agree to that." Pause. I know you've already paid for it, but she's not going to just longer pause. I could hear a woman's voice through the phone. Sharp, insistent. His mother, Claire. "She's not being difficult," Mark said. His voice had that defensive edge he gets when he's trying to protect me. "She just had a baby 4 months ago. She's exhausted. You have to give her time." I stood outside the door. Maya was asleep against my chest in her carrier. I didn't move. I barely breathed. Then I heard him say something that made my blood stop cold. "I don't care if the lawyer says it's legal. I am not doing that behind her back." The lawyer. Legal. Behind her back. I pushed the door open. He turned, saw me standing there. His face went pale. "I'll call you later, Mom," he said quickly, and hung up. I asked him what that was about. He smiled. That tight, forced smile people use when they're hiding something. Just Mom being pushy about Christmas plans again. You know how she gets. I did know. His mother, Claire Hartman, had been getting that way since the day we got engaged. Calling twice a day, sending articles about Swiss healthcare, Swiss schools, Swiss quality of life, always ending with, "When are you coming home?" Not to visit. Home. But this felt different. This felt like something more. I didn't push. Not then. I was too tired. 4 months postpartum. Running on maybe 12 hours of sleep total for the week. My body still ached. My brain felt like static. So I nodded. I smiled back. I said okay. And that night, after Mark fell asleep at 11:30 p.m., I went into his office. I started looking. Let me tell you about Mark's office. It's the smallest room in our brownstone. 10 by 12 feet. 1 window overlooking the street. A desk from IKEA. A filing cabinet from Office Depot. Nothing fancy, but Mark is organized. Obsessively so. He's an architectural project manager. He lives in spreadsheets and timelines and color-coded folders, which meant if he was hiding something, it would be filed, labeled, documented. I started with the filing cabinet. Third drawer down. Personal files. I found a folder labeled Travel, Family. Inside, 3 printed itineraries, all identical, all dated December 20th, 2023 through January 8th, 2024. Chicago O'Hare to Zurich Airport. Swiss Air, Flight LX9. 3 tickets. Mark Hartman. Elena Hartman. Maya Hartman. Not Elena Vance. Elena Hartman. I'd kept my name when we married. It's on my law license, my business cards, every contract I've ever signed. Elena Vance, Esquess 4. But to his family, I was Elena Hartman. They introduced me that way. Corrected people who used Vance. His mother even ordered custom stationery for me once. Elena Hartman, family law specialist. I'd thrown it away. The tickets were already booked. Already paid for. $4,873.50 total. I hadn't agreed to any of it. I kept looking. Next folder. Hartman Holdings, firm financing. Bank statements. Monthly deposits into Mark's business account from something called Hartman Holdings AG, Zurich. $8,500 a month. Every month. For the last 3 years. 36 months. That's $306,000. I pulled the original loan agreement. 22 pages. Standard venture debt structure. Interest rate, 3.2%. Repayment term, 10 years. But then I got to page 16. Section 8. Material breach and default provisions. Lender retains the right to call the loan in full upon occurrence of a material breach. Material breach is defined as, but not limited to, A. Failure to maintain minimum revenue thresholds. B. Failure to maintain operational presence in lender's primary market region. Or C. Borrower's relocation outside of lender's designated geographic territory without prior written consent. I read it 3 times. Primary market region. Geographic territory. I flipped to the definition section. Page 4. Primary market region. Europe, with specific focus on Switzerland, Germany, Austria, and northern Italy. They'd been funding his architecture firm. Not as a gift. Not as family support. As a leash. If Mark stayed in Chicago, he was in breach. If he didn't come back to Europe, they could call the entire loan. Demand $306,000 plus interest immediately. His firm couldn't survive that. He'd go bankrupt. My hands were shaking. I put the document down, took a breath. I kept looking. Third folder. Residency documentation. Inside. Official Swiss government forms. All in German. But I speak enough German to get by. My minor in college. Petition for dual citizenship. Swiss Confederation. Applicant. Mark Andreas Hartman. Filed. June 2022. Status. Approved. Pending final residence requirement. June 2022. We'd gotten engaged in March. Married in October. He'd filed for Swiss citizenship 2 months after proposing to me. I flipped to the next document. Residence requirement. Applicant must establish continuous physical presence in Switzerland for a minimum of 12 consecutive months within a 3-year eligibility window. 3-year window. starting from the approval date, June 2022. That meant Mark had until June 2025 to spend 12 months in Switzerland, or he'd lose the citizenship. And his parents knew that. Next document. My stomach dropped. Citizenship by descent, minor child. Applicant, Maya Claire Hartman. Date of birth, June 14th, 2024. Filed, August 19th, 2024. They'd filed for Maya's Swiss citizenship 2 months after she was born. Without asking me, I sat there in Mark's office. 1:47 a.m. The house was silent. Maya was asleep upstairs. Mark was asleep in our bedroom, and I was holding documents that proved my worst fear. This wasn't about Christmas. This wasn't about family visits or grandparent bonding, or any of the things Claire kept saying on the phone. This was about extraction. They were building a legal framework to pull Mark back to Switzerland, to tie his career to their money, to tie his citizenship to their timeline, to tie our daughter's future to their country. And I was the obstacle, not because I was American, not because I was difficult or emotional, or any of the things Claire whispered to Mark when she thought I couldn't hear, but because I was independent, because I had my own career, my own name, my own life, because I wouldn't bend. I took photos of every document, every page, every clause, uploaded them to an encrypted cloud drive I'd set up for work, put everything back exactly where I'd found it. Then I went back upstairs, climbed into bed next to my husband, and I started planning. Here's what most people don't understand about revenge. It's not about the moment of confrontation. It's about preparation. You don't win by screaming. You win by building a position so strong that when the fight comes, it's already over. I'm a contract attorney. I don't do courtroom drama. I don't do criminal defense. I do paperwork, trusts, estate structures, cross-border asset protection. I know how to move money, how to build legal walls, how to make things disappear in plain sight. So that's what I did. I went to my office. Didn't tell Mark I was going in early. Just said I had a client call. First stop, my senior partner, David Chen, 62 years old, Taiwanese American, specializes in international family law and expatriate asset protection. He's forgotten more about cross-border legal structures than most lawyers ever learn. I closed his office door. I told him I needed advice. Personal situation. He listened, didn't interrupt. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "How long have you known?" 18 hours. Have you confronted your husband? Not yet. Good. Don't. He pulled out a legal pad. Started writing. Here's what you're going to do. First, open a separate bank account. Your name only. Move your personal emergency fund into it. Don't hide it. Just separate it. If anyone asks, it's for business expenses. Second, update your daughter's birth records. Make sure you're listed as primary custodial parent. In Illinois, that's standard for the mother. But make it explicit. Third, draft a postnuptial agreement. Separate your income, your practice assets, and any trusts in your daughter's name from marital property. Include a clause requiring both parents' written consent for any relocation of the minor child outside Illinois. Fourth, get medical documentation. Travel restrictions for infants. Pediatrician's letter. Make it official. Fifth, And this is important. Hire a private investigator. Find out what Hartman Holdings actually does, where the money comes from, whether it's clean. He slid the legal pad across the desk. You need leverage. Right now, they have it all. Your husband's career, his citizenship, his family. You need to build your own leverage before you confront anyone. I asked, "Is this legal?" He smiled. "Elena, everything I just told you is completely legal. Protective, yes. Strategic, absolutely. But legal. You're not hiding assets. You're not committing fraud. You're protecting yourself and your child within the full bounds of Illinois family law." I took the notepad. "How long do I have?" "Those plane tickets? 3 weeks. If you're going to stop this, you need to move fast. And you need to be quiet." I opened a new bank account at Chase. Business checking account. Elena Vance Law Consulting moved $23,000 from our joint savings, our emergency fund. Not hidden, just separated. That night, Mark noticed. "Hey, did you move money out of savings?" I didn't lie. "Yeah, I opened a business account. Tax purposes. My accountant suggested it." He nodded. Went back to his laptop. It was that easy. I called our pediatrician, Dr. Eris Thorne. Asked for a consultation about international travel with an infant. He saw me that afternoon. I explained. My in-laws wanted us to fly to Switzerland for Christmas. 3 weeks from now. Maya would be 5 months old. 11-hour flight plus a 2-hour train ride. Dr. Thorne frowned. Pulled up guidelines on his computer. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends against international air travel for infants under 6 months. Cabin pressure can cause significant ear pain. Immune systems are still developing, and long flights increase exposure to communicable diseases. He printed out a formal letter. Office letterhead. His signature. Medical recommendation. Delay international travel until patient is at least 12 months of age to minimize health risks. I thanked him. Filed the letter. Leverage. I hired a private investigator. Found him through a colleague who'd used him for a corporate espionage case. Former FBI white-collar crime unit. Discreet. Thorough. Expensive. His name was Dennis Kowalski. 56 years old. Gray hair. Sharp eyes. We met at a coffee shop in the Loop. I handed him a folder. "I need everything you can find on this company. Hartman Holdings AG, Zurich. Corporate structure, subsidiaries, financial history. Any regulatory issues?" He flipped through the pages. "How deep do you want me to go?" "All the way. That's going to cost you." I slid a check across the table. $8,000. Retainer. Get started. Thanksgiving week. Mark's parents called. Conference call. Both of them. I put them on speaker. Claire's voice. Warm and bright. "Elena, darling, we wanted to confirm the Christmas arrangements. The flights are all booked. We've prepared the guest suite. Lila is so excited to finally meet Maya." I said, "Actually, Claire, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. I spoke with Maya's pediatrician. He's recommending we delay international travel until she's at least a year old." Silence. Then Richard's voice. Harder. "Elena, we've been planning this for months. The entire family is expecting you." I understand, but her health comes first. Claire. Voice tight. "We've raised 3 children. We've traveled with all of them as infants. It's perfectly safe." I'm sure it was. But medical guidelines have changed, and I'm following my doctor's advice. Another pause. Then Claire, barely controlled. We've already paid for the tickets. Non-refundable. I'm sorry about that. Maybe you can get a credit for next year. Richard. Elena, this is unacceptable. We are her grandparents. We have a right to see her. I kept my voice calm. Steady. You're welcome to visit Chicago anytime. Claire, we're not flying to Chicago. We want you here. In our home. With the family. I understand. But not this year. The call ended shortly after. Politely. But cold. Mark came into the room after I hung up. He looked exhausted. They're really upset. I said, I know. Maybe we could compromise. Just a week? Or maybe I could go alone? I looked at him. You want to spend Christmas in Switzerland without me and Maya? No, of course not. They've been looking forward to this. So have I. Looking forward to spending our first Christmas as a family. Here, in our home. He didn't argue, but I could see it in his eyes. The guilt, the pull. His family had been working on him for years, and they were good at it. But I was better. Dennis Kowalski called. I've got something. Can you meet? Same coffee shop. He handed me a thick folder. Hartman Holdings AG is a Swiss-registered company. Established 1987. Primary business, real estate development and property management. Legitimate on the surface. On the surface? They have 17 subsidiary companies, registered across Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, and the Cayman Islands. Classic shell structure for tax optimization. He pulled out a chart. Boxes and arrows. Companies nested inside companies. Most of it's legal. Aggressive tax avoidance, but not evasion. However, he tapped one box. This subsidiary, Alpine Property Services GmbH, was flagged by Swiss financial regulators in 2021 for incomplete beneficial ownership disclosures. What does that mean? It means they weren't transparent about who actually owns the company. Could be innocent. Could be hiding assets. Regulators issued a warning. Company filed corrected paperwork. Case closed. But it shows a pattern. They're willing to push legal boundaries when it benefits them. And look at this. He pulled out another document. Your husband's firm, Hartman Architecture LLC, is listed as a partner entity in 3 different development projects, all in Europe, all through these subsidiaries. What does that give them? Control. If your husband's firm is a partner entity, they can claim he's operationally involved in European projects. That helps satisfy residency requirements for citizenship. Makes it look like he's maintaining business presence there. I stared at the documents. He doesn't even know about this, does he? Dennis shrugged. I can't say, but it's structured in a way that doesn't require his active involvement. They're using his firm's name to build their case. Leverage. Mark came home early. He looked shaken. My dad called. He's threatening to call the loan. Shut down the firm. I'd been waiting for this. What did he say exactly? He said I'm in breach of contract, that I'm not maintaining presence in their market region, that if I don't come home for Christmas and have a serious conversation about the future, he's calling the full amount due. How much? $306,000. Plus interest. I let that sit. Then I said, Can you pay it? He laughed. Bitter. No, I'd have to liquidate everything. The firm, the equipment, client contracts. I'd be bankrupt. Then we need to talk. I went upstairs, got my folder, the one I'd been building for 2 weeks. I handed it to him. Read this. Mark sat at our kitchen table for 47 minutes. I know because I watched the clock. He read every page. The loan agreements, the citizenship petitions, the subsidiary structures, the investigator's report, the medical letter, the postnuptial agreement I'd drafted. When he finished, he looked up at me. His face was pale. How long have you known? Since November 14th. That's over 2 weeks. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? I sat down across from him. Because I needed proof. Because I needed to know I wasn't crazy. Because I needed to protect us before they realized I knew. He flipped back to the citizenship petition. They filed for Maya's citizenship without asking us. Without asking me. I corrected. Did you know about it? No. Did you know about your own citizenship petition? He hesitated. I knew I was eligible. My dad mentioned it once, but I didn't think he'd actually filed. When did he mention it?